Hey guys, so this came up as a quite highly requested video from your side, so here goes. So this is instruction how to replace the standard end cap for a Huben pressure gauge on the cylinder. So let's go right to it. So first you have to, of course, empty the air from the cylinder. Since we are now completely emptying the gun, not only the regulator chamber, but the whole cylinder, we have to fully empty both cylinders. And we do this by using 15, so type 15 torque key. And we loosen this screw until we start to hear the air escaping out. Of course, my gun is already empty, that's why I don't hear anything. If you have an older version of K1, then it's actually a flat screw with a sort of a spray O-ring inside. So in that case, you have to loosen up this one just the same way as this one. With this one, be careful not to damage the O-ring, so loosen it up just enough so the air starts to escape, and then wait for it to finish. Basically, the gun has to be 100% empty in order to replace the end cap. So as you can see, I kind of prepared the K1 already for this procedure. So mine is already empty and mine cap is not fully threaded, just to make the presentation a little shorter. So first you need to unscrew this cap. This cap, usually it goes to unscrew it by hand, but in case if it doesn't, you can put your pellet probe inside like this and then use this as a lever. If for some reason it's even tighter than that you cannot do it, then try to find a tool that is as smooth as possible, and the dimension of the tool should be as close to the fill probe, so that's approximately 7 millimeters or a little less. So this one, for example, is 6 millimeter, and then just put it in. Don't put it all the way through, otherwise you will probably scratch your shroud, and then just turn. This procedure, you might want to be careful if you need to do this, because if you damage the inside of this pellet hole, probe hole, you might have problems when you're refilling. You might have some air escaping by the O-rings. So I'm going to just fully unscrew it now. Okay, so we leave this outside, and now we are at the part when we need to unscrew this. Now this might be quite well tightened, but in order to get this out, you need some sort of a tool. And in my case, and I also recommend something like this, this is a piece of aluminum. I will give it a dimension that you need. So in metric, that's 28 millimeters, and the thickness should be around 2.5 up to 3 millimeters. In imperial, that's about 1.1 inch by 0.1 inch, about. It can be a little bigger. And using this, you have to put it in these slots and then start unthreading it. Now this, it might happen that this is really heavily threaded in, and let's not forget again, the gun must be empty. If it's not empty, then you will not be able to turn this. So it has to be completely empty, and when it is, you have to start unthreading. And then when you start, just go all the way out until it stops to move. So basically, I will do this right now. And this is quite, let's say, delicate procedure, because you can very easily either make marks, scratches on your end cap, or even on your shroud. So just be careful that you do this with caution. So basically, the thing that is putting resistance on me unthreading this right now, it's actually the O-ring inside. So I think I'm at the end. So now I have to wiggle it out, because the O-ring is still keeping it in. So that's the old end cap. And then you take the new end cap, and personally I unthread the cover, and there are two reasons actually for this. First of all, I can now insert something in this probe hole and force it to rotate in, so basically screw it in. And the second reason is that if you, for example, have this on and then thread it fully in, it might happen that when you want to unthread only this part in order to get to the port for filling, that you will actually unthread everything, and you cannot really hold this piece in place in order to get only this off, and then you are at the beginning and you cannot do anything anymore. So basically, I do it like this. You can even take the gauge itself off. So the gauge has like a bigger hole here, then it has a groove. So basically, once you put this part in the bigger holes, put it in, and then you slide it down, well, whatever direction you have it rotated. So basically, you slide it towards the narrower part. And that's a good thing because you can then adjust to have the gauge rotated in the correct horizontal position. So now this is off and without the gauge, and you might want to use some sort of lubrication. I usually use silicone spray. You can use also silicone grease. That's probably the best, but don't use any petrol-based lubrication because then the O-ring might wear out. So just spray a little bit on it, not really a lot, and then put it in. First part you will have to force it in, like wiggle it in, so you make sure that the actual O-ring sits inside, because there are threads and it's really kind of hard usually, like in my case, for example. And then when you get it far enough in, make sure that it's pressed up against the threads, and then just start threading it. For example, in my case, I already have a problem threading it. By the way, it can happen that you have it slightly tilted, and in this case, make sure that you don't apply too much force. So when you are using either a tool like this to thread it in through the port, or just the pellet probe, sorry, keep saying pellet probe, fill probe, make sure that not excessive amount of force is needed. So this should be fairly easy. You can even take this hose off and just use the probe. It should be enough to do this. So basically you will have to put it out and in again every half turn. There is just no other way. If you are lucky, by the middle or maybe by the end, it will get easier and you will be able to rotate it by hand. But in this case, I have to use the fill probe. So let's just try to do this as fast as possible. By the end, your hand will probably hurt. So you don't have to tighten this at all. Just make sure that it's flush and that's it. And then when you're done, insert the pellet probe, the gauge, so in the hole, and then slide it in the other side and make sure it's leveled. And that's it, actually. All you need to do now is refill the gun, and before you do that, of course, don't forget to tighten this pressure release screw. And once you refill it, for 10 to 15 seconds, you might hear some hissing sound going out through the new end cap, and that's normal, but it should stop, of course. It should stop in about 15-20 seconds the most. I think that's what I think I got the first time, and this happens also the first time, and afterwards it's immediately shuts. So this is only first time phenomenon. Okay, so that's it, guys. It's easy, right? All there's left to do now is to refill the gun. Before you do that, make sure that the bleed screw is tightened, so otherwise the air will escape there, of course. And make sure that the gauge is leveled and also that it's in the middle, because you don't want it to be on the edge, otherwise it will just fall off and the air will slightly start to escape through the hole. So that's Right, that's good now, and now we can just refill it. The refilling you should do slowly, of course. So we are at my max pressure, I believe. That's it, done. K1 with a cylinder pressure gauge. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel, leave thumbs up or thumbs down if you don't like it, and hope this was useful. And if you want to see, if you want to get notification of my new videos, make sure you click the bell. Bye.